everybody, welcome back to the Escentual. Erin here to make another cold process soap. Today we're doing a very special soap. It is one of my absolute favorites to make. You clicked on the video, so you saw the title. Today we are making spiced pumpkin soap, and I'm so excited. This fragrance oil smells so good. It does not smell like straight up pumpkin spice, but there is definitely pumpkin spice notes in here. I will put the notes up on the screen for you as long as I can find them. This is from Crafter's Choice. You get this from Wholesale Supplies Plus. And what makes today's soap extra special is it is actually being made with pumpkin puree. This is pumpkin puree that I put in just a little square silicone mold and popped it into the freezer for a few hours to make it solid, frozen, solid, and nice and cold. I am doing a 100% liquid substitution with pumpkin. So there is no water, only pumpkin. And it makes a beautiful soap. Now, one thing to note is that the fragrance oil does have vanillin in it, so it will discolor. So it probably won't stay orange the way that a pumpkin soap made with pumpkin with a fragrance oil that doesn't discolor would, because pumpkin naturally makes your soap orange, of course. But that's okay because it smells amazing, so I'm not complaining about it. But for anyone that has never done a substitution like this in soap or has never seen it done, I thought that I would show this part on video because it is a little bit different than doing a normal lye water solution. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop one of these little blocks of pumpkin puree. Now this is pumpkin puree. It is not pumpkin pie filling. They are different. If you're going to make a soap with actual pumpkin in it, and you do not have to do you don't have to do 100%. You can do it at whatever percentage that you like, and then just make up the rest with whatever your liquid is, whether that be water or aloe vera juice or whatever it is that you're using. But make sure you get 100% pumpkin puree. You do not want pumpkin pie filling. Pumpkin pie filling has a bunch of other ingredients in it. It may not react well with the lye. It might not. You just don't want to do it. So I'm going to weigh out the amount that I need, which will probably only take maybe 2.5 or so of these blocks. Let's see what 3 makes. 7.6. So that's actually a little bit much. Let me get out a knife here, if I can find one. Okay, so I'm just going to attempt to cut a little bit off. Alrighty, so I've got a decent amount of pumpkin in there. I have at least as much as I need to do a very steep water discount as per usual. So now here is the interesting part. What I am going to do, and I'm going to try to make sure it stays in focus for you. I apologize if it doesn't, but it's pretty straightforward from here. Because the pumpkin is frozen, I do not do a water bath at this point or an ice bath. But if you wanted to keep everything nice and cool to avoid any sort of scorching or anything like that, because pumpkin does have natural sugars in it, you can absolutely do that. I don't, because I freeze these little blocks of pumpkin solid before I do this. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to very slowly pour some of my lye in, just right on top of that pumpkin. You want to do this little by little. So I'm going to pour some of that in, and now I'm just going to stir this all together, and I'm just going to do that until you might already be able to tell the lye is starting to melt the pumpkin back into a more liquid form. That's exactly what we want, and I'm just going to keep doing this until the pumpkin is completely melted back down. This keeps the temperatures nice and cool. It helps prevent any sort of scorching from the sugars or anything like that. And we'll just keep doing that until the lye has all dissolved and turned into a wonderful pumpkin puree lye solution. Now, one thing that I did want to mention to anyone, that if you plan on doing this, just be aware that this does make a very strange smell. It is very similar to making a beer soap or a wine soap. It does make a really strange smell. It's not super pleasant, but it's not just awful either. Just be prepared for that. Coffee does the same thing as well. So if that happens to you, do not freak out. It's fine. It will be just fine. And the smell does go away. It does not remain in the soap, so don't worry about that either. You can see how liquidy that is already. That's perfect. So I am just going to add this little by little, and I'm going to stir pretty much continuously to make sure all of the lye is dissolved and that we don't have any big chunks or flecks of lye floating around in there. And then we will let it sit, because it will still warm up. It just won't get quite as hot as a normal lye water solution. And then we'll let it sit and come down to an appropriate temperature, and then we are ready to make soap with it. All right, so we are pretty much done stirring. You can see it's very liquidy and runny, and that is perfect. That's exactly what you want. One thing that I absolutely love about pumpkin soaps is that because of the natural grain that's in the pumpkin already, in the pumpkin puree, you can actually see a little bit on the spatula there. You get a mild exfoliating property with the soap that you have added the pumpkin puree to, and it is marvelous. And the natural sugars in the pumpkin make wonderful bubbles, and I absolutely love pumpkin soap. And when you add a fragrance oil that does not discolor, you also get a beautiful orange colorant as well. So if you're into natural colorants, orange pumpkin is a great orange colorant. Absolutely wonderful. So let me test my temperature here again. So you might be able to see, I hope, that it's at 124 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So it's got quite a bit of sitting that it needs to do, but all of our lye is dissolved. I don't see any flecks floating around in here, which is great. So we just have to let it sit, and we can get our oils ready in the meantime and let everything come to room temperature, and then we are ready to make pumpkin soap. We are back. We are ready to make our pumpkin soap. I am so excited, you guys. I know I mentioned earlier that this is one of my favorite soaps to make, and it is not a lie. It's seasonal for me. I would totally make this year-round if pumpkin was a more year-round sort of deal, but a lot of people are really only interested in pumpkin for the fall season. This is for a custom order, but I do have a pumpkin soap coming out for my own line, and that will be available very, very soon. So keep an eye out for the video, and it will also be available in my Etsy shop to order. There will only be 10 bars available. If they all sell out and people are still wanting them, I will absolutely make another batch of them, but let's see how it goes. So our pumpkin puree lye solution is ready. It is at room temperature. It's nice and fluid. It's got some nice grit going. I'm sorry that it's a little bit blurry and that it's a little bit dark. It is now nighttime, and I also apologize for the background noise if you can hear it in the video. My neighbors had an event at their house today. They renewed their vows. My husband and I were over there earlier, and it was a very nice ceremony, and now they're over there celebrating and having a great time, and I had things to do, so I had to come over here and make some soap. So if you hear a bunch of music and whatnot in the background, I apologize, but they're having a great time. So all right, now with this fragrance oil, it does contain vanilla, so it is going to discolor at least a little bit. I looked it up on Wholesale Supplies Plus because with Crafter's Choice, they don't tell you the percentage of vanillin. It just tells you that it contains vanilla. I don't know if the pumpkin, if the natural orange will combat that a little bit or not, but even if it doesn't, it's still going to be an amazing soap. And I can actually use this entire bottle in my batch. So I'm just going to pour that out. Oh my goodness, this smells amazing. It is wonderful. And I'm just going to give this a quick little stir. Get that all good and incorporated in there. And of course, that doesn't entirely matter because I'm going to be stick blending this anyway. I didn't see any mention of accelerating or anything like that with this fragrance oil, so I think it's going to behave nicely. Most of the pumpkin fragrances, pumpkin spice, pumpkin cheesecake, this spiced pumpkin, I'm sure it's not going to accelerate because generally I don't get that with pumpkin fragrances that I've used in the past, but I have not used this one in particular before, so I really don't know, but there was no mention of it in the comments for this fragrance or in the notes for this fragrance. So this is going to be a little bit different, a little bit of a shorter video because I'm not adding any colorants to this soap because I'm going to just let that natural pumpkin shine through, and it's probably going to discolor anyway, so there's really not a whole lot of point in adding color to the soap. So I am just going to jump right into the making of this video. Okay, stick blender is done. I really need to replace the stick blender. Last time I placed an order with Brambleberry, I completely forgot that's where I got the stick blender from, but that's okay. It works as long as I need it to, at least. Okay, so let's just scrape this, and this behaved very well. We're at a very nice trace. I'm not super worried about keeping it entirely thin trace because we're not doing any kind of fancy swirls or anything. But is that color not gorgeous? I mean, look at this, you guys. You can see the little flecks of the pumpkin in there. Let me try to focus that a little bit, but you can see the little flecks of pumpkin in there. This is going to be a gorgeous soap one way or another. So I am going to try out a new filming angle today. I hope that it works out for you all. So let me just set this here, and we are ready to pour. I'm just going to pour into the mold until we are full. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera a little, but I need to do a little bit of scraping. All right. So now I'm just going to tap this a little bit, pat it out, make sure that everything's nice and even in here, as even as possible. This is still pretty liquidy, so I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of texturizing to the top. Nothing crazy, just some little swirlies on top to just give it a little bit of interest, because it is such a plain soap as far as appearance. To a lot of people, I think it's gorgeous, but you know. So I am just going to do an infinity swirl, and I'll just do this a couple of times. It is starting to thicken now that it has sat, so but it's entirely possible that a lot of this texturing will not make it. Actually, I am going to let that sit for just a couple of minutes and let it thicken up a little bit more. And I am going to fill up my little owl mold with the scrapes of my bowl, because I don't like to waste. Alrighty, the owl mold is full, and this is thickening up quite a bit, so I am going to swirl this top now, because it will hold a design now. And I'm not worried about making this too terribly super even or anything like that, because once it gets cut into bars, it's not much going to matter, because there's not any sort of color or anything to swirl, but it will still give it a little bit of interest. So all that is left to do now is to clean up my edges with the paper towels that I brought in here but have somehow lost. Oh goodness. So I'm just going to clean up my edges, and then I will bring you all in for a close-up. Let's bring you all in for a close-up. So this is what we've got going for us. Look at that beautiful orange color. I am absolutely in love. This is one of my favorite soaps to make on the planet. I absolutely love fall. Oops. I absolutely love fall. Anything to do with pumpkin, I am all about. We do have a little bit of a lip here, and that's because it got so thick so fast once it hit the mold, but that's not a problem. I mean, look at this soap. I really hope that some of that natural orange comes through, but if it doesn't, it's not going to be that big of a deal. That's just part of it. When you choose a fragrance like pumpkin spice, they generally have vanilla in them, so it's sort of unavoidable. But that's all that I have for this portion of the video. I will see you all for the cut. We are back the next day to cut the spiced pumpkin puree soap. You all might be able to tell, but the soap did gel, which I expected it to, because it has a lot of natural sugars in it from that pumpkin puree, so it is darker in the center, but you can also still see a lot of that beautiful pumpkin texture, all those little dots and things like that, and that pretty orange coloring, which it will probably continue to discolor and get darker and look more like the center portion of it where it gelled because of the vanilla in the fragrance oil. And Oh my gosh, this smells so good. I am not disappointed at all in this fragrance oil. It is so good. I highly recommend that you check it out. So let's cut into this thing. I did let it sit for a couple more hours, but so there's one side and then there is the other. Oh man, look how pretty that orange color is. That is so pretty. I hope that it's picking up correctly on camera. It looks a little bit yellow from my angle, but I promise you it is pumpkin orange and it's very, very pretty. And you can see where it has started to discolor around the edges. So this is likely the color that the entire soap will turn to as it continues to saponify and as the vanilla starts to do its thing. But it's not a whole lot to see. You can still see some of the texture on top from the swirling that I did, but I didn't expect much of it to survive. But it's mostly just for interest on the top because it is very plain. So there's one side and then the other. And you've got that top. But you can see all the little flecks of pumpkin from the puree, and that's going to feel very, very nice on the skin. A very gentle, mild exfoliating effect. And I don't believe I'm going to show the entire cut, or maybe I will just go through it very quickly because I don't have a whole lot else to say about this soap. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I'm really, really liking the fragrance, and there's not a whole lot to say about this soap, to be honest. But I would like to know what you all think about this soap down in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever made a soap with a fruit or vegetable puree, or are you interested in trying? Or if you're not a soap maker, would you buy a soap that's made with something like real pumpkin or tomato or cucumber? Or, I mean, there are plenty of different purees out there that you can try, and so many have different benefits for the skin and give a really nice texture to the soap. I would just love to hear your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Alright, this is the last bar, and that is all that I have for you all for this video. Please let me know what you think down below. Love hearing from you guys. Just leave a comment saying hello. It makes my day. I absolutely love it. And if you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to be, turn on those notifications. That's that little bell icon up beside the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I hope that you did, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye. Just wanted to check back in and show everyone this is that pumpkin soap 2 days later. So you can see it has darkened quite a bit. It is no longer orange. It is brown, but it smells wonderful. I'm not even mad about it. It smells really good. You can sometimes find pumpkin scents that do not discolor. They don't have any sort of vanilla in them, but I still really highly recommend this one. It smells amazing, you guys, and that is all that I have for you. See you later. Bye-bye.